Well, this will be a pretty tough school year for the thousands of students displaced by Hurricane Harvey and for the school districts that have taken them in.
So why not give them a break when it comes to state mandated testing? Thanks for joining us on this Thursday. Those students are dealing with a lot. The stress of adjusting to a new school, and in some cases they're actually living in temporary housing.
That's right, and that has some lawmakers and educators worried about how these displaced students will perform on standardized testing this coming spring. So they're now asking the state to make some changes. Chris 6 reporter Jane Caffrey following this story for us. She joins us now. So Jane, what kind of changes do they want to see?
Well, Lee, they're asking the state to delay or waive scoring on standardized tests for students impacted by Harvey. They also want to modify the way school districts are graded at the end of the school year based on those standardized test scores.
When Hurricane Harvey lashed Port Aransas, more than 500 students were displaced, 300 now attending classes in Flower Bluff, other districts, or homeschool.
It's just hard when you've been displaced. Some of our families have moved 2 or 3 times in the last month.
Other districts have seen an influx of displaced students. Gregory Portland ISD accepted 1,700.
Our class sizes are at the maximum.
Our local legislative delegation has these students and districts in mind and is asking the Texas Education Agency to delay state-mandated standardized tests for students impacted by Harvey or waive test scores.
They're starting with a significant disadvantage. They're displaced, and students just traditionally don't do well when they're under a significant amount of stress like that.
They also want the TEA to look at accountability and ask that districts impacted by Harvey not be penalized if their students' performance isn't up to par.
They shouldn't be penalized for it. This is a very difficult year.
The TEA commissioner will decide whether to make the provisions, but he has not yet made any decisions on testing. Local superintendents hope he'll consider it.
I think under the circumstances, that's the only reasonable thing. The students that we are working with have been through quite a bit of trauma.
When they're all facing out of the ordinary situations.
I'd really rather focus on teaching and learning, caring for our students. Part of me really wishes that when we get back to school in our regular buildings in the spring, that we didn't have so many days ahead of us that we will be doing state testing.
State standardized testing for this school year begins in March, so the Texas Education Commissioner will need to make a decision by then. Local lawmakers also tell us they're interested in changing the rules in the next legislative session so that there are already allowances in place for school districts hit by storms in case a disaster strikes again. Stephanie?
All right, thank you, Jane.